Joining me now is Texas Congressman Lance Gooden, a member of the House Judiciary and Armed Services Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. The Secret Service is just making a statement on these findings, saying many of the findings align with their own internal investigation. We've reviewed the interim report on the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The weight of our mission is not lost on us. And in this hyper-dynamic threat environment, the U.S. Secret Service cannot fail. That's their statement. And it aligns all these findings with their own internal investigation. Congressman, your reaction?
This report is embarrassing, and as Americans wake up and hear the details of it, they were totally unprepared. The failures of the Secret Services are really shocking. In many instances, we found in these interviews that I've been reading about just in the last hour, no one has taken responsibility. No one could tell you who was in charge. People were saying that other law enforcement agencies were aware of things that they were not. The head of the Secret Service office in Pittsburgh was unaware of a credible Iranian threat on the president's life. There was no one standing up and saying, yes, this was organized and this is why this happened. There was a request for surveillance that was denied. Jill Biden was an hour down the road and she had a surveillance unit for only 400 people. There were 15,000 people at this rally and there was nothing. The mismanagement, the lack of accountability, the lack of accepting responsibility is really shocking to me. And if this had been the day that Iranians wanted to take down President Trump, they probably would have been successful. It's very, very fortunate that the president is even alive after reading some of this report today.
So what now? What are the consequences for the Secret Service dropping the ball like this?
Well, there are so many heavy consequences from this administration for failures. It said no one ever. There's nothing happens in this town. Nothing happens in this town when this executive administration drops the ball. I hope something happens now. I think the American people are upset. I believe they're going to get more money. I don't know that they're going to get more reform. I sure hope they do. I do believe that President Trump, assuming he takes office in January, will do something about this. But something's got to be done now because we've got another 7 weeks or so left in this campaign. President Trump is out there. Kamala Harris is out there. Joe Biden is out there. Every president, former or potential president, needs security, and I'm not sure they've got it right now.
Well, I mean, you're an elected official. What can you do about it?
Well, we're supposed to have some hearings and kick and scream, but we're also leaving tonight for the next 7 weeks. I'm going to continue to press upon Speaker Johnson to push for reforms in the coming weeks. We've got to do something now. The Secret Service, fortunately, their director stepped down after reading this report. She should have been fired years ago. But we are, I hope, moving toward a better place and not just sending more money to the problem.
You're leaving now for 7 weeks on a new recess.
Yes, it is. I don't support this. There's many appropriations bills that still aren't done. They should have been done in August, but nonetheless, Congress is leaving for 7 weeks, as they typically do during election cycle. I believe tonight, later today, a continuing resolution will be passed, not with my help and support, but continuing to fund this waste in government and doing nothing with respect to keeping our promises for the American people. It's a shame, but I hope the Republican majority is greater in 7 weeks so this doesn't happen again.
Unbelievable. Let's talk about the campaign season. Kamala Harris is set to visit the Arizona border on Friday, we're told, which many people say is a political stunt. I mean, let's face it, she's never been to the border. And now we've got, on Friday, it'll be 39 days before Election Day, so she decides, let me get religion and go to the border. This last-minute trip comes as the Harris campaign is refusing to say whether the vice president will end Biden's controversial Customs and Border Patrol one cell phone app or its controversial migrant flights program where they're flying these illegals into swing states. Border Patrol agents telling the New York Post that children as young as 8 years old are being drugged and trafficked into the United States by smugglers posing as their parents. The agents say it's not clear what happens to the kids once they are smuggled into the country, but that they are vulnerable to child labor and sex trafficking, Congressman. We've been talking about this now for several years. I've been to the border many times, and I've seen this up close and personal with kids coming across alone. You've been demanding answers from DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on the children harmed by the administration's border policies. Is there no accountability there as well?
It sure doesn't seem so. It's appalling. In 2023, that number was, I believe, 89,000 unaccounted for. Now it's over 291,000, and that's just the ones that they've got statistics for. Where are these children? What are they doing? What situation are they in? Why is our federal government so not concerned with this plight of children from all over the world that are coming here unaccounted for after they go into the United States. Kamala Harris doesn't want to talk about it. Secretary Mayorkas, remember, he says the border is secure. And so, yes, you are right. The Democratic candidate for president and many running down the ticket have suddenly found religion, and they want to secure the border, but they don't want to talk about the serious failures of things like this, of these unaccounted for minor children that are doing God knows what and God knows where. And it's a real tragedy. I hope the American people are waking up between now and Election Day.
I mean, what could she possibly do? Go to the border and say, okay, the border is wide open. 350 people were apprehended who are actually on the terrorist watch list. Okay, 10 million illegals are in the country on my watch. I'm sorry. I mean, what is this border trip going to prove?
She won't admit to anything. She'll go down. She'll shake hands with some border security. She'll say that Republicans should send them more money. She'll make sure there are no illegal crossers anywhere in sight for that camera moment. And then she'll get on a plane back to Washington, spreading the word of whatever she wants it to be. It won't be truthful. But the American people, I don't believe, think that the border is secure. They certainly don't think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have secured it. For the next 7 weeks, though, we're going to hear her tell you what she will do differently when she's had 4 years to do it and hasn't.
Well, you're on the Armed Services Committee. I want to get your take on sending more troops now to the Middle East. I mean, the Ukraine-Russia war is entering a third year. President Zelensky pleading for more aid and permission to strike targets deeper into Russia using weapons from the U.S. and allies. Zelensky set to meet with Biden and separately with Vice President Harris this week. There were reports that he was going to meet with former President Trump, but the Trump campaign official says that meeting will not happen. As some Republicans are questioning the timing of Zelensky's trip. Is this a ploy to help Harris, especially after his visit to a Pennsylvania ammunition plant alongside multiple Democrats, including Governor Josh Shapiro? They're demanding an investigation into allegations that Zelensky may have flown into the state on a U.S. Air Force plane and that Biden provided Secret Service protection. That's a misuse of taxpayer dollars, right? Congressman, what can you tell us?
I can tell you that everything you said is accurate. He flew in on a C-17 into Pennsylvania, went to a weapons factory. No Republicans were invited to this official meeting. And the governor of Pennsylvania was signing bombs that are going to go to Russia. We are not at war with Russia. We've been helping Ukraine. That is true. I think that help has run its course, and we should move on. But how foolish for the president of Ukraine, after all the billions of dollars, over $170 billion that he's taken from the American taxpayer, for him to fly in on our aircraft and have the nerve to opine and get involved in the United States presidential election and criticize Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. He has no business even saying anything other than thank you. Everywhere he goes in the United States, he should repeat the words thank you over and over again. Yet he had the nerve to criticize President Trump, and then I guess he requested a meeting with him. Well, of course, they're not going to waste time with a meeting with him. But if he is such an intelligent, wonderful leader for his nation, you'd think he'd keep his mouth shut and let the chips fall where they may with respect to the presidential outcome. Because if Donald Trump wins, and I believe he will, I can't imagine he'll have a wonderful reception.
So, I mean, do you think he was campaigning with the Harris team?
I think that was the plan, yes. They flew into a swing state. No Republicans were included. The governor of Pennsylvania was there. It was very much a pro get out the vote activity.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's talk about Israel, because these are stunning developments. This last week has been incredible. Overnight, Israel intercepted a missile launched toward Tel Aviv by Hezbollah. This is the first to get so close to the city, according to the IDF. Hezbollah says it was targeting Israel's intelligence service headquarters, and it fired 300 rockets yesterday at Israel. The IDF responded with extensive fire overnight and into the morning. It comes as more U.S. troops will be deployed to the Middle East as the violence intensifies. You've got roughly 40,000 American soldiers already in the region, Congressman, and what are they sending? Another 24? Your reaction?
My reaction is that Israel has every right to defend itself, and I sure hope that this administration will get out of the way and stop criticizing Israel for defending itself. They've had over a year to help solve this problem. As President Trump said, and I agree with him, this would have never happened. October 7th of last year would have never happened if President Trump was in office. But we're not respected on the world stage, and so these things are going to continue to happen. And Israel, unfortunately for them, I think feels at times they're going it alone. But I stand with Israel. I know President Trump does, and I hope this administration will get on board.
So will the policies be very different, Trump versus Kamala, when it comes to Israel? depending on who
wins? I think so.
Yeah.
We'll have a nation that stands with Israel 100%, not 80% and 20% critical. We've got to move forward in the direction of Israel and peace and prosperity in the region.
Congressman, thank you. Lance Gooden joining us. We'll be right back.